Welcome to Detroit. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass. You can drown them. And that's what we gotta be. That's who we have to be. Because that's our domain. That is our domain. Because we'll tread water as long as it takes to fucking bury you.
Takes the snap, turns, gives to Montgomery, right side, end zone, touchdown, Detroit Lions! Yes.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions friends, fans, and family members. Welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike. And as always, we're diving on in. So, folks, before I say anything else, just want to make sure I get this out of the way. Hope you all had yourself a good Thanksgiving. Hope you all spent some good time with family, friends, loved ones, and the food was excellent. And you were able to enjoy the holiday. At least for the holiday's sake of what it was. That's first and foremost. Now, let's talk about the game. I'm just going to call it for what it is here. I don't know what the hell Dan Campbell was thinking. I don't know what the hell Kelvin Shepherd was doing. But what I do know is that what we just saw against the Packers was absolutely the worst coaching job I think I have seen by either Campbell or by Shepherd, not only over the entire course of, whatever Campbell's tenure has been the last 5 years, but over Shepherd's entire tenure as the defensive coordinator so far this season. And obviously there's more to it than that, and we'll talk more about it. But let's just call it for what it is. Let's start with Campbell. Campbell's in charge of the play calling. Campbell is the one that is, the one that puts the plays in. He's the one that calls them. And I don't know what the hell Campbell was trying to do today. I simply just don't. Campbell literally, I can say all the good things about him as a motivator, as a team builder, as a player's coach. But the one thing I can now honestly say without a shadow of a doubt is he is not a good play caller. And the reason I can say that is because I just want to put this out there for you for what exactly it is. This is now Campbell's 4th game now calling plays, because he called the plays against the Commanders. He called plays against the Eagles. He called plays against the Giants. And now he's called plays against the Packers. We've now seen a month of Dan Campbell calling plays for this offense. And I got to be honest with you, I don't see any improvement, really. I don't see any improvement with the play calling. I don't see any improvement with the offense as far as a different play caller. In fact, in some ways, I'm just going to call it for what it is. I think it's gone backwards in some ways. And not necessarily because the players aren't executing in certain facets, though that certainly is the case in some. But some of these play calls just don't make any sense. You go back to that game we just watched. Dan Campbell must have ran at least 4 or 5 different trick plays. And quite frankly, out of all of those trick plays, only one of them worked. Only one. Which the only one that worked was the Wildcat formation that we did towards the end of the first half, or the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter, whatever it was, where Monty literally ran the ball up the middle and scored a touchdown. The rest of those trick plays didn't work at all. None of them worked. And some of them, it made absolutely no sense why Campbell would call them. Case in point, why would Campbell call a Wildcat pass from David Montgomery on 2nd down when everybody and their brother knows there's a likelihood that Monty is going to try and throw the ball? But it's like, listen, you've already ran all these other trick plays throughout the course of the day. They haven't worked. What makes you think that now all of a sudden the one thing that everybody knows Monty can do as a running back is throw, that somehow that's going to change? That somehow he's going to be able to find somebody open when realistically any other time we've tried to run a trick play, it has not worked. The lateral to Goff that Goff dropped, that didn't work, which that was on Goff dropping it. But it's like, why are we running trick plays? They're not tricking anybody. They're not confusing anybody. They're not catching the Packers off guard. You run trick plays when either one of two situations comes up. Either you need something to try and potentially get a big spark, or you're trying to do something to catch the defense off guard. Neither of those things happened, and the one wasn't necessarily needed in some cases. Because as the game went on, the offense got better as far as being able to pick up first downs for the most part. And that was primarily through the air, which leads me into my second point. The offensive line was absolutely, unequivocally bad. It was especially bad in run blocking because it's like, listen, couldn't get Gibbs going at all, couldn't get Monty going at all, really. And then pass blocking, it's like, once again, Goff got absolutely terrorized. The fact that Goff had as good of a game that he did, which he finished with like 130-plus passer rating, again, finished with like 70% completion rate, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Again, that was in spite of how bad that offensive line played, for the most part. Because again, I remember at one point I was watching the game, and I think they said that Goff had dropped back 7 times, and on 7 of those dropbacks, he had been sacked once and he'd been pressured 6 times. So every single time that he'd been dropping back, he was either getting pressured or sacked. And it definitely got better as the game went on. But it's like, dude, it's like your offensive line's not able to open up running lanes to get Gibbs going. It's not opening up running lanes to have Monty get going. It's not giving Goff enough time to really survey the field, and he's constantly having to speed up his throws, which in spite of that fact, he was still able to play a pretty damn good game. I'm just going to call it for what it is. The fact that Goff was able to have the game that he was able to have with, let's put this out there, no starting center, no starting left guard, no starting tight end, and no starting running back. 4 starters down. And Goff still threw 130-plus passer rating, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and 70% completion rate? I mean, for a quarterback to do that, despite all those pieces missing, and despite the fact he's under constant duress and Micah Parsons is just making everybody on our offensive line look absolutely ridiculously bad, I give Goff a hell of a lot of credit. But even despite that, the running game could not get going. Even though we ran for over 100 yards as a team, neither Gibbs nor Monty was really able to break out and really get that run game established the way we needed it to get going. And go back to what I literally said yesterday. I know a lot of y'all didn't watch the video I put out yesterday. I see the numbers. But I said it yesterday. I said there were 3 things that the Lions absolutely had to do in order to win that game. And quite literally, they only accomplished one of them. Really only accomplished one. Yeah, they got over 100 yards rushing. They were also able to make sure they didn't turn the ball over one time. But what was the one thing that they didn't do? They didn't get a turnover. And they had a chance. They had a chance to get one turnover, and literally it bounced right off of Roman Harper's chest and went right back into the Packers' offensive lineman. That was your chance to get that turnover to try and turn the tide in our favor. Slipped right through the fingers. But again, that's only part of the problem. The fact that Campbell kept trying to force runs, especially to the outside, when again, I watched the whole game. I listened to the whole game. And freaking Brady, Tom Brady on the freaking broadcast kept saying the same thing. Trying to run the ball to the outside zone is not a good idea against this Packers defense. They have way too much damn speed in that linebacking core to get good enough, runs on a consistent basis to the outside. And what was it? I would say at least 75 to 80% of the time we tried to run the ball outside, it literally went for no gain or for a loss of gain. And running the ball up the middle wasn't much better, but at least it was a little bit better. But yet the fact that Campbell kept forcing the ball to run it, when it was clearly obvious we were getting a lot better and more success throwing the ball, I just couldn't understand that. It's like, I don't understand how Campbell's not able to recognize that, okay, something is clearly not working. Trying to force feed it is not going to get us anywhere. I'll be honest with you. The one thing that has bugged me about, doesn't matter if it was John Morton, doesn't matter if it's been Dan Campbell, Why are we not trying to do hurry-up offense? Why are we not trying to do up-tempo offense? Why are we not trying to keep defenses on their toes by speeding up the play clock and saying, hey, trying to play this methodical game that we're used to playing is not working. Let's speed up the game. Let's speed up the plays by making sure that the defense can't get themselves set and they're constantly trying to figure out what we're going to do, so that way we add a little bit of confusion on the defense. Why don't we do that? Because there have been plenty of times when we've done it when it's been like a 2-minute or 3-minute period to go before the half, and it works. It works damn near most of the time. But yet the rest of the game, we don't even consider it. We don't even try to use it. But when we use it, it actually works. Then, just to continue on with this theme with the offense, other than the fact of the offensive line not doing a good job, not blocking very well, other than the fact of Dan Campbell's play calling, again, being very suspect, and again, not making a hell of a lot of sense in a lot of cases. The other thing that has continued to rear its ugly head is the drops. Yes, I know there was only 2 drops today, but again, even though the volume wasn't there, the importance of when those drops happened was critical. Especially the one by Jamo on 4th and 3. It's like, listen, Goff gets the ball to you. Was it a little bit behind? Yes, it was. But Jamo could have clearly caught it and clearly could have had it, and Jamo himself knew he screwed up because he was absolutely pissed at himself for dropping it. But it's stuff like that. It's those stupid little miscues, those little mental errors that keep screwing the Lions over. How many times did we freaking get the call for illegal formation because the tackle was uncovered? That's a mental miscue. That goes back to coaching. And I get it. It's a short week. You're not going to be able to get everything covered, but it's like, these are paid professionals. These are guys that have been playing football since they were virtually in Pee Wee League. You should know, hey, there needs to be someone on the offensive line to cover the tackle. You need to make sure that you have somebody there. It's simple 101 football, and yet we keep making these very basic, very simple errors, and it costs us in very crucial, critical ways. Now that's the offense. The defense, I don't know what to make of this defense now. That freaking Eagles game that seems like an eternity ago, I literally said, I'm like, that was a masterclass of defense right there. And let's think about it. Let's truly think about this. That Eagles game, we go up against Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, all of those freaking superstar players, and we hold that offense to 16 points, all that talent. And yet over the last 2 weeks against the Giants, who don't have their starting quarterback, who don't have their starting running back, who don't have their starting wide receiver, they hang up over 500 yards on us and almost 30 points on us. Then, the very next game, this game against the Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving, this defense absolutely, once again, completely disappears. Completely disappears. Think about this, folks. The Packers have probably had the most dysfunctional offense over the last month, which I know is hard to believe considering the fact that our offense has been pretty dysfunctional. But let me put this out there for you. You want to know how many passing touchdowns Jordan Love had over the last 4 games prior to this one? 2. And that came in one game. Over the last 4 games prior to this one, he had had 2 touchdowns, which were in the same damn game. He had had 3 games out of 4, which he'd had 0 passing touchdowns. 0. And in this game, he literally gets back all of that in one game. He has 4 passing touchdowns in this one game. I don't understand it. I don't understand how this defense, which literally up until the Eagles game had played such a great job throughout the entirety of the year for the most part, all of a sudden over the last 2 weeks against probably the most dysfunctional offense in the NFL and against an NFL offense that's missing its starting running back, starting quarterback, and starting wide receiver has just absolutely completely fallen apart. It's just it's inexcusable. It's unfathomable how bad this defense has been the last 2 weeks. Now, granted, I'm going to say this. The refs didn't do us any favors whatsoever. Oh, they might have given us one, but the one that really screwed us over was the one where it was clearly visible that the offensive lineman, the right guard for the Packers, had jumped and had been a false start. And, oh, that's right, Matt LaFleur had been shouting for a timeout, but didn't actually put in the signal until after the ball was snapped. And yet the ref said, oh, he called timeout. But yet you can clearly see the replay, which was on the broadcast from the side angle, which showed that the player had jumped and had committed the false start penalty before Matt LaFleur had called timeout, before he had signaled timeout. It's like, listen, it's a loud stadium. If I can't hear you, I'm going to need some other kind of signal to understand what it is you're calling for. That should have been a false start. It should have backed the freaking Packers up. And you know what? Then at that point, they attempt to kick a field goal. Then at that point, you're not looking at, a 4th down conversion for a touchdown. Which, think about that. The first 2 times that the Packers scored were 4th down conversions for touchdowns. You've got them on the 4th down. You've got them on the do or die down. You've got to get a stop. And both times, our defense falls up short. I know everyone's going to say, hey, you know what? That first touchdown should not have been called. That was not a catch. That one's up to debate, because you want to know why? Because I'm going to say this. Even though I don't like the call, the point of the matter is when he caught the ball, his first foot was in contact with the ground. So you can say, well, did he have possession? Did he have control? You know what? It ain't going to really matter, because when it comes up to that kind of debate, more often than not, the refs are going to go with what the player was doing. Okay, he caught the ball, first foot down, second foot gets in, that's a touchdown. So I don't like the call, but you know what? That one, you can have a ticky-tack argument over. The second time it happened, there's no ticky-tack. Point is, Matt LaFleur did not get that call in before the player had snapped, before the player had jumped, and it had been a false start and the snap had been underway. That play should have never happened. But then, the cardinal sin out of this entire situation, it's like I said in my previous episode, for those that watched it, the one absolute thing we absolutely needed on defense is we had to get a turnover. I literally pointed out in black and white. Every single game that the Packers have lost, they have always had at least one turnover. At least one. And this defense, which has been absolutely so good in the past and opportunistic in getting turnovers, once again does not get one when it absolutely needs one. Against, again, one of the most, if not the most inconsistent offense in the NFL. Against an offense that over the last 4 weeks had literally only thrown 2 passing touchdowns, and they literally double that output in one game over the last month. That's why I'm saying this defense over the last 2 games has been absolutely pathetic. The offense is no better under Dan Campbell calling plays and is actually kind of further falling backwards. Campbell is calling plays that literally make no sense. I understand trying to set up the run. I understand you're trying to get a spark going, but it's like your offense was clearly moving the ball through the air. Yes, Goff took 3 sacks, but you know what? I guarantee you this. Goff is going to be able to take those sacks and move on. Just keep going with what works. And again, like I said, run some up-tempo offense. Run some 2-minute offense. What's wrong with running a 2-minute style offense throughout the entire course of the game? Your defense is clearly not stopping the other team. So you know what? You're going to have to outscore them. All you're going to have to hope and pray for is that you score more points than the opposing offense, because clearly your defense isn't getting stops. Which was clearly the case for our defense. We had, 2 stops, and that was early on in the game? From then on, it was like the Packers were just scoring at will. That's my whole point. We are not making adjustments when we need to make adjustments, whether it's on offense or defense. We're not trying to think outside the box. We keep trying to, doing the same things that we've been doing, and it's like, listen, you need to shake it up by doing something that you have not done before. Everybody knows we've ran trick plays in the past. Try something else. Everybody knows we're going to run the ball. Try and do something else that's going to throw them off their game. We were clearly moving the ball through the air, so you know what? Go with what works. Don't keep trying to beat a dead horse. But yet that's what we've been doing. We keep trying to beat a dead horse. And it's like we're not making adjustments when we need to make adjustments. And it's absolutely just, it's mind-boggling. That was a game we could have won. But again, because we didn't make the adjustments we needed to make when it was clearly obvious what adjustments we could have made, we screwed the pooch. And think about that. We could have won that game despite the fact having no Amon-Ra St. Brown, despite having no Sam Laporta, despite having no Graham Glasgow, despite having no Christian Mahogany. We could have won that game with less talent overall than what we had week 1. We could have won that game. We could have won. But because our coaches, for whatever reason, don't want to make adjustments when it's absolutely necessary to say, hey, let's do something to shake it up other than what we've been doing in the past, that's why we lost. I put this loss solely on coaching. Our coaches got out-coached. Yes, the refs screwed us over again too. No damn surprise there. But I cannot forgive the fact that our coaches are not doing a better job of working and thinking on the fly. I'm sitting there watching the game on my television, on my couch, and I can see this. They're in the stadium on the sideline, and somehow you want to tell me they're not seeing this? You've got a front row seat. I'm watching the game from 500 miles away, and I can see it. So either I'm just blind and dumb as hell, or y'all aren't just trying to figure out a way to make things go because you want to keep doing things that you've always been doing. And it's like, I get it. These guys have been in the NFL for a long time, but you know what? Sometimes you got to throw a monkey wrench out there to really throw things up, to really mix it up. And we're not doing that. And I can't understand why, when we're looking for sparks, we're not trying to do anything to get those sparks. The trick plays weren't working. Okay, then you know what? We got to try something else. Let's not keep doing the same damn, stupid crap and thinking that's going to work. You want to know what that's called? That's the definition of insanity. And what I literally saw was insanity because we kept trying to do the same things over and over and over again. And it didn't work. Hence, why insane. But I've said my piece. So, I'm going to end this episode and say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I encourage y'all to watch the next episode. Also encourage y'all to please do this. If you enjoyed the content and had not subscribed in the past, I hope to gain your subscription now. Also, if you subscribed in the past and forgot to do so at the time, or you subscribed just now and had not yet had a chance to do so, please make sure you hit that bell notification icon so you guys never miss any more content I push out. Hope y'all are doing well. Hope y'all got something in your life that makes you happy, makes you smile. God bless, my friends. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.